Hello and welcome to Classic Book Reviews with David. Today I'm reviewing The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is sometimes known as Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or just Jekyll and Hyde. For the purposes of this video, we'll just call it Jekyll and Hyde. It was first published in 1886, and Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote the novella, wrote it in just a period of about 6 days or so. He wrote the first draft in just 3 days. He was said to have been very ill at the time when he wrote it, so it's quite an achievement, especially as it's an absolute classic. Over the years, it's been reworked. The book has been adapted into numerous films. There have been numerous spin-offs, and it's even permeated its way into everyday language. Generally, most people know what people mean when they say that someone has a Jekyll and Hyde personality, even if they haven't read the book or seen the films. So it's a hugely influential book. So it was, as I say, it was published in 1886, and it sold tens of thousands of copies within just 6 months of publication, and it's continued to be phenomenally successful and is studied throughout Britain in many secondary schools. So, funnily enough, the plot doesn't exactly centre on Jekyll and Hyde. It centres on someone else called Gabriel Utterson, and it's his story that we follow through the book. And he's friends with Henry Jekyll, but is a bit concerned when Henry Jekyll seems to become a bit reclusive. At around the same time, Gabriel Utterson becomes aware of someone called Mr. Hyde, who seems to have a reputation as being, a thoroughly bad person, evil in fact. And Gabriel also discovers that Henry Jekyll has bequeathed his estate to Edward Hyde, and Gabriel can't figure out why that should be, why this decent, upstanding person, Dr. Jekyll, should bequeath his fortune upon his death or disappearance to Mr. Hyde. I will say now that there is going to be a bit of a spoiler alert, but you probably know the final twist, but if you don't, you may want to stop watching, read the book and then come back to this review. As many of you know, the twist is that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are in fact one and the same. Now that is one of the best twists in literature. The sad thing is that people like me, prior to reading the book, knew in advance that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were one and the same, and that really takes out a lot of the power of the novel. Nevertheless, it is a great novel. I've read it many times and got a copy of it somewhere. I won't go and get it now. But it is a fantastic book, and I would have to give it, now I was tempted to give it 4 stars, and the reason for that is I knew the twist, I knew what was coming at the end, or near the end, but that's not fair. Just because I knew the twist, and it loses its impact, it doesn't mean I should give the book 4 stars. So I will give it 5 stars. Here's Blackie's blackboard. Oh, Blackie's blackboard's obviously not as happy as I am with the book. But yes, I'll give it, I can get that on, 5 stars. There we go, 5 stars. And it is well deserved. It's an absolute classic. It's one of the 3 great Gothic horror novels, the others being Dracula, which was published a bit later, and Frankenstein, which was published many years before. Yes, so if you want to know anything else, well, you can probably look online, but I've got some links below which detail where you can purchase the book if you want to, or you can leave comments if you want to, and there's links to my Twitter and to Facebook. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I look forward to doing some more. All the best.